Today's deck is exciting, so it's a hybrid between a Counters Matters deck and a Bastion of Remembrance deck, with some landfall shenanigans thrown in, and we're having a lot of fun. Alright, so the point of this deck is to go as wide as possible while having a Bastion of Remembrance on the field. Now this makes it so that whenever one of our creatures dies, they lose a life and we gain a life. Now, how do we do this? First off, we have Scute Swarm. Whenever we landfall, we'll make a 1/1 insect, and if we have 6 lands, we'll actually make a copy of Scute Swarm. Now, everyone's using Scute Swarm, so it's not really a surprise, but the way this deck uses it, I think it's pretty interesting. To go with Scute Swarm, we also have 2 Felidar Retreats, and when we landfall here, we can make 2/2 white cat beast creature tokens, or we can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. Now, +1/+1 counters are really important in this deck, and we'll get to that later. But for right now, all that really matters is understanding that we're going to go wide with Scute Swarm, we're going to go wide with Felidar Retreat, and then we're also going to go wide with Basri's Lieutenant and Swarm Shambler. Now, Basri's Lieutenant's going to put counters on creatures when it comes into play, and then whenever a creature with a counter on it dies, we'll get a 2/2 white knight creature token. Whereas Swarm Shambler, it's going to put counters on itself, but it has an ability where anything with a counter, when it gets targeted with a spell, you'll get a 1/1 green insect creature token. So between these 4 cards, we can go really wide, we can protect our board, and then everything that has a counter on it is either going to make insects when it's targeted, or it's going to make white knights when it dies. And then to capitalize on it, we have the Ozolith. So whenever anything with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, the counters are going to go on the Ozolith. So we're making extra insects, we're making extra white knights, they're dying, they're triggering Bastion, all the counters are going on the Ozolith, and then those counters are coming back onto our creatures, rinse and repeat, and we get there. We have a lot of +1/+1 counter creatures to back this up, so we're running 4 Stonecoil Serpents, because this can just come into play with a ton of counters right away, and if it dies, your Ozolith gets big, and then anything can get big. We've also got 2 Luminarch Aspirants, and this puts a counter on a creature every single turn during your combat, at the beginning of combat. So it can build a board where even the things that don't have counters on it, like your token creatures, the Aspirant can put counters on those creatures, and then they're sort of protected by things like Swarm Shambler and Basri's Lieutenant, and you just keep going wide. We've also got Conclave Mentor, which is going to add an additional counter anytime something gets a counter, so things get even crazier. The cool synergy that I want to point out here is with Fertilid. Now, since we're using Fertilid to fetch along with Scale the Heights, both of these cards are also utilizing +1/+1 counters, and the Fertilid in particular, when you have a Felidar Retreat in play, you can take a counter off the Fertilid to fetch a land, and then when that land comes into play, it's going to trigger the retreat, putting +1/+1 counters on everything, including the Fertilid itself. So you can just keep fetching lands, keep triggering, keep putting counters on everything, and it gets absurd. Scale the Heights, similar. You'll put a counter on something when you play it. In a lot of decks that are going for landfall, that's kind of a waste. But in this deck, it lets us get a counter onto something that maybe doesn't have it yet, so it can get the protection of Swarm Shambler or Basri's Lieutenant, or if we want to chump with it, we can get that counter back onto the Ozolith, and we get some extra advantage from our things dying. And all in all, there's just a ton of synergy here. We're also running just 1 Ancient Green Warden to go with 4 Fabled Passages and 3 Evolving Wilds. And this is going to make it so that we can double landfall trigger every time we drop one of those. But then when the Ancient Green Warden's out, it's kind of like a quadruple landfall trigger without actually needing a land in our hand, because we'll play Fabled Passage from the graveyard, and that will trigger landfall twice for Felidar Retreat or Scute Swarm. And then we'll crack the Fabled Passage to find a land, and that will trigger landfall twice for Felidar Retreat or Scute Swarm, because of Ancient Green Warden's ability, where if a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So just a one-off works really great. Our whole team is kind of just protected with Bastion of Remembrance. And surprisingly, we put the opponent in a lot of circumstances where they need to wipe our board, but they just can't because they'll die to the Bastion, and it makes things really awkward for our opponent, and it's super fun on our end. We're also running 3 Kabira takedowns in the mana base, just because we can afford to have a few lands coming into play tapped here, other than the Evolving Wilds. But also, if we desperately need some removal, the takedowns will work well because we tend to go wide. We have a lot of creatures, and the takedowns, they do damage equal to the number of creatures we control to any creature or planeswalker. So this is the deck, tons of synergy built in, and I'm super proud of it. And I'm really interested to see, you know, how this deck really shapes up over the next few weeks. I think I'll probably come back to it. But for now, this is the deck, and let's jump into the games. This is fine. Evolving Wilds will grab us a Plains. Turn 2, Luminarch Aspirant. Turn 3, Conclave Mentor. Turn 4 and 5, Stonecoil Serpents. Feels really good. I mean, he'll probably have some removal, and we'll have to adjust. Evolving Wilds pass. He plays a Gilded Resolve. Alright, we will fetch a Plains per the plan. Forest Aspirant. Next to combat, gets a counter, and then we'll pass the turn. The reason we play the Aspirant first before the Conclave Mentor is because we actually get an extra counter out of it if he's out sooner. And that seems kind of obvious, but it's worth pointing out. It does make the Aspirant more susceptible to removal, because whatever we put out first is going to be more susceptible to removal. But I mean, if they have to spend their whole turn on removing something, that's not too bad. So we'll go Forest, Mentor. That was actually a really good draw for us, because we can do Swarm Shambler and it comes in with an extra. Next to combat, we'll go Aspirant, and we'll swing 4. End turn. So we don't have an Ozolith or a Bastion or a Basri's Lieutenant yet, but we do have the Shambler. So if he targets the Aspirant with removal, we'll at least get an insect. Making mana, not doing much. Okay, we don't get the land. I'm thinking we should Aspirant and then leave a mana for Swarm Shambler. It's probably better than the Serpent. Serpent gets better the more mana you have, so I mean... Give ourselves a nice blocker and a nice attacker. Swing in with the Aspirant, we'll leave the Mentor back. Make sure he can't get in with any Cobras. Next turn's probably going to be a big turn for him. He kept his Evolving Wilds. He's got 2 Cobras in play. But we're putting pressure on him. So, theoretically, it might be possible to kind of stop his game plan. Make him have to focus on removing our threats. Instead of doing what he wants to do to win. Passage. Okay, he's gonna make a lot of mana. Does only have 3 cards in hand though. So there's only so much he can do. He's gonna have 6, 8, 9 total available to him by the time he's done. We've got really good blocks here though. So I know he can't swing in. Like, we can block with a Swarm Shambler and then activate his ability in response, and it will put 2 counters because of Mentor, so he'll be a 4/4 blocker. Plays the Evolving Wilds. Gets the Forest. Gets more. So he's up to 6 now. So he's got 7 green and 2 red. Oh, he's gonna play Ugin. Well, that's problematic.
Power without wisdom is the path of the fool.
Woof. That was a good play. A good draw, I should say. These need to be Ugin killers. He's gonna need to drop protection from Ugin. He can't kill them. They're gonna be too big. We needed the 4th land to make sure they were big enough. A couple swings and Ugin's gone, and we have board dominance. They have trample too, so we can't jump. Plays the Omnath. Draws a card. He's gonna have to jump with the Omnath, and we have protection from multicolor. So that's really good.
Beyond perception.
Boom. Oh yeah, he can't jump with the Omnath because I have protection from multicolor.
Your efforts will not succeed.
1, 2, 3, 4. Now we can't attack with it. It's gonna have to get really lucky. We're gonna have some recovering to do afterwards because we're leaving ourselves open in order to get Ugin off the table. But it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. We have to get rid of him. Plays a Dryad. It's a little bit useless.
Do not ignore my draconic talents.
2, 3. Protection for multicolored as well. I don't think we Scute Swarm. I think we just do this. We put it here so that we can block and kill the Omnath if he decides to come in. We need to leverage extra turns. So the extra 1 point of damage that we can get through with Trample to Ugin isn't worth giving up the ability to prevent him from swinging with Omnath. Even though we block it and we survive anyway because protection from multicolored, we want him to not attack with anything. We want him to only be able to damage us with Ugin if possible. And this does that, because now he doesn't attack with Omnath, which means he also doesn't attack with Dryad. think he forgot that it had trample.
Are inevitable.
Oops. That's game. He's gonna need a heck of a top deck. Scute. Forest. Swing all. They can't even be blocked by anything but the Dryad. He takes 12, or he chumps with the Dryad. Woof. I guess that's how you deal with Omnath. Protection from multicolored. I'm loving it. I don't think he knows what to do. He needs to draw a card off Omnath. Is that what he's doing? Oh, in response, he's going to hit Fable Passage. Gain 8 life. Oh, he didn't. Wow. He should have responded. I think you can respond, right? No, maybe you can't. Maybe the legendary... Maybe the legendary rule kills it before you have a chance to respond. So he gains 4. Can't attack. Gains mana. Plays a Scute Swarm. He's gonna have to do some chumping here. We get our Bastion, but we have no black online. We keep Passery's Lieutenant as a blocker as well because of the Vigilance. And we've also got Scutes if we absolutely need jump blockers, but I think we'll be fine. Just swing in like this. He has to at least chump with 1. And go to 1. He doesn't know what we have in our hand though. So I think he has to play it safe. Right? Jump both. Going to 1. Alright. He's eating that food. More food. Hey, we get our swamp. We'll play the swamp. Get some Scutes. Play the Bastion. Now we've got protection. And we'll just swing all. I don't think there's any way he can survive. We lose 1 Scute, but we get him to 2 instead of 3. And then dies to the Bastion, we get him to 1. Now he can't even kill anything. Okay, he's got 5. Man, he tried. Good game. We got there. We will keep this. First turn, Swarm Shambler. Second turn, most likely nothing. Third turn, Fertilid. Fourth turn, hopefully Bowser's Lieutenant. Seems really slow. Pass turn. We'll put a counter on at least. Unless he kills it. Oh. Fairy Vandal. What I really want for this deck is Myriad Constructs and a third Ozolith. Because putting all the counters from the Ozolith onto the Myriad Construct and then getting a ton of 1/1s to sack to trigger Bastion eventually feels pretty awesome. Well, I guess we gotta try and ward off that octopus. We know he has no 1-mana instant speed because it just went right through his phases. He had no responses. Unless he's trying to trick us. I mean, we have to trade. We have to prevent his card draw. If we can. He removed 0? Oops. Wow. Oh, that was good for us. We'll play a Fertilid. We're going to need to fetch a Plains with it eventually. Swing in with the 1/1. See if he bothers to flash something in and kill it. Nope. We'll pass turn. We'll make the Swarm Shambler bigger at some point before we untap. We will activate. Is he going to do something in response? Looks like he is. Cool. I'm okay with that. Give me more 1/1s. Give me all of the 1/1s. Every 1/1. You will give me every 1/1. I think we want as many counters as possible, right? 2, 2. If we get lucky with this Scale the Heights, we can use Fertilid to grab another land. So, hold on. Cancel. Play the Swamp. Tap them both. Play the Scale the Heights. Target a 1/1. We want as many things to have counters as possible because of Swarm Shambler. We did not get lucky. Swing 5. We'll probably flash something in this time. Cinewisp. He blocked the 1/1. 4. Pass the turn. No blocks. It's fine. That's fine. 2, 3, 1, 2. Play Swarm Shambler first. Play Bastion. Just trying to go wide right now, so that a couple turns from now we can clean up with things dying. Nightbonder. I don't think there's anything he can block with, flash in and block with, that doesn't at least trade. Solve. Borrower. Resolve. Is he gonna chump? Extra damage. Enter. Dirge bat. What does he kill? It's not considered a spell, so I don't get an insect. That's kind of a bummer. Okay. Can we get on with it? Can we play? Okay. Way to go, Jack. Way to go. Let's do some shenanigans here. We'll crack for white. Play a Basri's Lieutenant. Target. will swing, swing, swing. Okay. I'm okay with that. Give me all the white knights. Yes, he scooped. He can't handle the knights. We'll keep this. It's not amazing, but it's fine. We're going to lead with Kabira Takedown as a land. We're hoping to draw into a land. So that turn 2 we can play a Serpent. Pass turn. Otherwise we have to play the Passage and then drop the Ozolith, which is what we're doing. Pass turn. We need a land, because we really want to drop a 3/3 Serpent and not a 2/2 Serpent. Because we'll be out of the reach of Shock, Stomp, and we'll be able to trade with the Hellhound. Or at the very least make him waste mana with the Intimidator to make it not block. Grab the green. Draw black. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And we'll pass the turn. Now, he either has to spend 33% of his mana making this not block, or he attacks with less and plays all the things he can. Gears up for a big turn 4. Thing is, it doesn't really matter because cowards can't block warriors, but Hellhound is not a warrior. If you want to stomp it and I 2-for-1 and I get 3 counters on my Ozolith, you go right ahead. Thank you, sir. May I have another? We're gonna go Fertilid. Next to combat, we're gonna put all those counters on Fertilid. We're gonna end turn. Now he has the 5/5. He can sneak in for 3, but it's gonna prevent him from playing things. He definitely can't remove it. And if he wants to 2-for-1 again, I'm fine with that. So if he swings in and doesn't activate Intimidator, making it so I can't block, we absolutely block. Let him waste another Shocker Stomp. Again, not a warrior, so you can activate the ability if you want to. Okay. That was an awful attack. I don't know why he did that. Again, out of stomp range. No attacks. He can only make one of them not block him. And I'm fine with trading the Serpent because I'll get all the counters back. It's out of stomp range, it's out of shock range. It's gonna play Bone Crusher Giant. Alright. Do we scale the heights or do we play Luminaric Aspirant? Or do we search for a land? Might be right to just search for a land. No. Let's play the Aspirant. He could shock it. Make this a 4/4. That way if it blocks the Kargan Intimidator, it doesn't die. This is really slow. Unfortunately, we're really light on lands, and we just don't have enough breathing room to activate Fertilid. Conclave Mentor or Luminaric Aspirant? I guess Luminaric Aspirant's probably better. We'll just make Fertilid really big here. No attacks. We want to try to block Anax with Fertilid and have it survive. He has to play 2 permanents in order to get around that now. Next turn we can play the Mentor and do all sorts of silly stuff. Champion. I only have 1 green. I guess we'll play the Mentor. Kind of worried about him having a eight, 9, 6, 7, 8. 8. So that's fine. And we'll go here. Because if it dies, we get life. That's okay. Only an 8 though, which means Embercleave's gonna be a problem. I have to assume that's what he has. If I could just play some of the things in my hand, it'd be great. I have to get Fertilid to 10 now. I guess I try to scale the heights. I hope I draw into a land. I can't really afford to take a counter off Fertilid right now. It's holding back Anax. Do not draw into a land. No attacks. So he has to play at least one permanent plus the Embercleave in order to not die to the Fertility. Ow. That might be a problem. Swarm Shambler, Kabira takedown on Torbran. No attacks. While he's tapped out, we'll kill the program. That's fine, he gets a 1/1. The reason I put those two counters on the Swarm Shambler is because I want to trade with a Bone Crusher Giant if I can. Or if I'm desperate with the Anax. And then the counters will go on the Ozolith. The Stonecoil Serpent's already big enough to block a Bone Crusher Giant and survive. And the Fertilid's big enough to block Anax. Hey, a land! Maybe I should have played Scute Swarm first. That's okay. Hey, another land. Next to combat, we'll go here, here. Pass turn. This is such a weird game. Hard decisions. Just trying to like hold him off. Plays the Rimrock Knight. Don't think he's attacking. So we're gonna grab a land here. Just grab another green. We could Scute Swarm and grab a land. Or we could play Green Warden. I like that. And then we can I play that? Okay, plays as a land. Yeah. Next to combat, we'll put a counter on Aspirant. We want to make it so that if he decides to like shock or stomp the Aspirant, we'll get something off of it. The counter will go back on the Ozolith. No tax. End turn. We're looking a lot better right now. We're not out of it yet. He has a very wide battlefield. Alright. So we're gonna go Scute Swarm. Scute Swarm. trigger a bunch of times because of Green Warden. Crack the Fable Passage. We'll find another green. He might just scoop here. Because, we're in a really good position now. We don't quite attack this turn. Yeah. The Scute Swarm helped us. And then we'll take a counter off and we'll make even more. He scoops. We got it. This deck was an absolute blast to play, so you can expect to see another version of it somewhere down the line. For now, like, subscribe, share, do all the things, maybe comment, and we'll see you next time.